Hi, and welcome to SCW here on YouTube.com. Thank you for choosing the channel and choosing the video. It is WWE Crown Jewel taking place this Thursday. It's the match card and predictions. Going to introduce my special guest very shortly. We'll go through the predictions together. But first off, you need to know the match card. So without further ado, here it is. So those are the matches that are going to be discussed. But before I do that, I need a guest with me from Jonesy Chats Wrestling. It is none other than NXSteve. Welcome to the channel. Hope you're doing very well. How's things going?
I'm very good. Thank you, Steve. Thank you for having me on once again.
It's always great to have you here. And of course, it would be wrong if I didn't give you a chance to plug Jonesy Chats Wrestling and tell us a little bit about the channel for people that are not aware of the content.
Yeah, Jonesy Chats Wrestling. We're a bit hit and miss at the minute for content. I mean, the only thing that's sort of regular at the minute is NXT reviews. It's the product really. It's some of it's just really not worth covering. But yeah, so I missed last week because I had work. So unfortunately, I did miss 1 week. But so normally I am up there every week on a Wednesday with an NXT review.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's consistent as well. When you say you missed last week, but there's always been this regular following of the NXT 2.0, and yeah, it's going to be good to sort of get away from that side and hear your thoughts on the Raw and SmackDown, because we're very aware of what you've been doing in thoughts of NXT 2.0 so far. But I do recommend for anyone that hasn't been watching it to go and subscribe to the channel, check out the content. You need 200 subscribers as well now. It's been very hard and dedicated when you have been throwing that content out there with NXT. So I hope that people go and give you a shout and go and check you out. But like I say, Crown Jewel is the one here this evening, and that we're going to be talking about. And obviously, it's going to be on Thursday. There's a lot of matches to dive into, but is there a match that probably stands out for you on this show?
Yeah, I mean, Edge Seth Rollins, 100%. This is sort of the end of the feud run match. The Hell in the Cell, the build. This is the one that I'm personally looking forward to at the whole card.
It is indeed, yes. And for me, I'm really looking forward to it as well. I think it's going to be a fantastic match. It's been a really well-told story with these two as well. And I think that certainly is going to be fun to see how it's going to play out. But, of course, Crown Jewel, we will say as well, it is probably quite a controversial show. We're not just talking in-ring, but we're going to focus mainly on the wrestling style of it. But usually, it's more of a house show-based kind of style in-ring. But the card put together does have... It has got a big show feel about it. There's some really big matches as we saw then amongst it. We've got, Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar. You mentioned Edge and Seth Rollins. We've got the triple threat with Becky, Bianca, and Sasha Banks. So there's a lot to dive into and to discuss. So, without further ado...
Sorry, Steve, you cut out right at the end of your sentence there. I didn't hear nothing.
Unfortunately, that's always the worst time it can do that. Are you ready to discuss the first match?
Yeah, go for it, man.
Let's do it. Well, without further ado, it is the WWE Championship. It's going to be Big E defending against Drew McIntyre. Now, can they coexist? I'm not sure about that storyline on Raw. That's not really been for me. But personally, looking at it, we've got Big E, who's been drafted to Raw. He's recently won the WWE Championship. Drew McIntyre is going to move to SmackDown after Crown Jewel. So as Friday on SmackDown, he will no longer be a Raw superstar. The question is, does he take the WWE Championship over to SmackDown? For me, that seems very unlikely. But at the same time, passing the torch over to Big E could be a big move here, a big-time play for Big E on Monday nights, of course, picking up a win over someone like Drew McIntyre, who carried Raw throughout the pandemic era and as well beaten the likes of Bobby Lashley already. Does it seem a foregone conclusion that Big E will be picking up the victory on Thursday?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, for me personally, I think this is just to increase Big E's potential and his sort of big fight feel for him, because I know they've not really built anyone up apart from Drew, but Drew is one of the top guys on Raw. So getting a win over him will do massive wonders for Big E.
It certainly will. And I mean, the thing is that after that, you can turn around and say, well, we've got some new programs that Big E can go into, perhaps the likes of Seth Rollins or perhaps Edge, both are moving over to Monday night. So there's a lot of new time players that Big E can feud with. Of course, we'll be going to Survivor Series as well if he does pick up the victory, and probably will be facing the winner of Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar, which will be the last match we will be discussing on the stream. But feel free, anyone, to put your predictions in the comments. But obviously, it's quite a short one, that one, because we both feel Big E here. It feels a foregone conclusion. Is there anything more that you would like to add with regards to Big E versus Drew McIntyre?
I mean, I wish they hadn't made these matches, because with the draft and everything, we know it all literally changes the following night on SmackDown. So, if with Roman staying on SmackDown, it's a foregone told answer. You know what the result's going to be, which is a shame, really, because it's better having that unknown certainty. But with WWE recently, a lot of their booking is it's simply played out. You know who's going to win.
Yeah, so true indeed. No, you're bang on the money with that indeed there. And, well, I mean, the thing is, I mean, as we said there, it at least gives a big win for Big E. And I think that that's certainly something that we can take as a positive out of it. And it should be a very good match, even if it does seem predictable. But without further ado, should we go to the next match?
Yeah, go for it, mate.
Let's do for it. Well, it's going to be the Tag Team Championships on the Raw side. RK Bro defending against AJ Styles and Omos. Now, of course, this is the first time they'll be facing, I believe, since SummerSlam, if I'm not mistaken, where RK Bro won the Tag Team Championships. But for me, personally, this has got the house show vibes to me. I can't see anything other than an RK Bro victory. I want to see RK Bro versus the Usos at the Survivor Series. And I think that having the belt switch at this point for me doesn't make sense, especially as I have a feeling that this Randy Orton and Riddle storyline will play out all the way to WrestleMania. What are your thoughts with this tag team match we've got here at Crown Jewel? Yeah,
I mean, I initially thought as well that I initially thought AJ and Omos were going to pick these up, but like you just said, with Survivor Series coming up, the tag team versus tag team, it makes more sense for Riddle and Randy to retain. I'll be honest with you, I'm bored of seeing AJ with Omos. I want to see AJ back in singles competition, especially with the likes of Finn Balor going over to Raw now. I know they say Omos isn't quite ready yet and he still needs some time, but yeah, again, this is another one it's pretty much self-answered itself.
Absolutely, indeed. And you mentioned the idea that you want to see AJ and Omos kind of separate, which was going to be my next question. And there was rumors they were going to be separated in the draft. They were kept together last minute, I think, by some discussion backstage. Not sure if it was creative or superstars themselves.
Apparently, it was a certain superstar, which a lot of people were saying was Randy, saying that he's not quite ready yet. He's still a bit green and not ready to be separated.
Absolutely. Well, I would agree with that. But do you think, though, that, WWE being WWE, if they were going to separate them in the draft, perhaps they'll have a feud, perhaps at some point during this next 12 months. If they were to lose this match, could you see AJ placing the blame on Omos and we get the start of the cracks to a breakup? Or do you think that they continue as a partnership for some time yet?
I've got a feeling this is probably going to push itself onto probably... See, my problem would be having AJ miss Mania, but I could probably see it, unless the split comes sort of January time and they end up having a match at Mania, maybe. But... the match itself, having AJ versus Omos, is a really hard one to book, because it's AJ Styles and he should technically lose to someone like Omos, but as we all know what kind of wrestler AJ is, having him lose to Omos for the fans isn't believable. So it's sort of 50 of one, half of another with them two.
It really is. It's difficult of how it's going to be managed, and the thing is, almost I almost feel that if Omos was to leave AJ Styles, he should be paired with someone else. And I mean, the first thing I can think of that would maybe make some sense on Raw could be to sort of partner up maybe with the Hurt Business, because he remains protected in that. He's in a faction then. It's not just a partnership. He can play him when he needs to and wants to. But I for me, don't see them breaking up for a time yet. I think we're looking at least Royal Rumble season before it will start to happen. The match either take place probably at Fastlane or WrestleMania, depending on what plans they might have for AJ. Like you said, if there's a match with a Finn Balor or an Edge, for example, that could be for WrestleMania, they may do that match earlier, or they may save it for the big show itself. But it's going to be interesting how it's going to play out. But we've both gone for RK Bro. Just to remind people that they can get involved in the chat room as well. As Steve Callan says, hey, hope you're doing well, Steve. Thanks for checking us out. And I did get asked from Jonesy Bro, is this live? Yes, it is. So that means you can get involved with your comments as well. But please as well, keep the comments as well to the matches we're discussing. And if there are ones that come in from other parts, then certainly I will do my best to go back to them, depending on how crazy the chat room is. We have got here from Joshi Pro also saying that Riddle and Orton will retain. They will go down the lines of Orton betrayal towards Riddle, leading towards the showcase of Riddle and Orton at WrestleMania, having Riddle go over, of course. Yeah, 100% agree with that, and that makes Riddle a star in his own right and a big... with that. Also, when I say it's AJ Styles and Edge, easy for me to say at WrestleMania. That's uncertain at this point. There's no clear direction for either of these guys at WrestleMania at this point. That's mainly fantasy booking on my speculation.
That one makes a lot of sense though, because that AJ, obviously AJ's in his last professional contract now. So I personally, that's a big match that I think a lot of people would want to see. So to have that at Mania would make a lot of sense. But again, they've got to split. Either split AJ and Omos so AJ can go into a storyline, or just have AJ and Omos essentially in a handicap versus Edge. And so again, it just ends up with a single match being those two at Mania. But yeah, with AJ's contract length, I really would want to see that at Mania.
I certainly would as well, and definitely say with the contract length as well. But it's something that needs to be done sooner rather than later. It would be a real shame if we didn't get it. But we've got another question just before we move on to our next match. AJ Styles and Omos split, and we get AJ as Finn Balor as tag team champs. I mean, obviously we've discussed the idea as opponents. Could we get an AJ Styles and Finn Balor alliance at some point in WWE?
I think with the way Finn's portraying his character at the minute, the tag team isn't likely. I'm not being funny. The fact that these two have been in WWE together for, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 years now, and they've had one match, I think is criminal. I think that's probably what the one match they had, which was by accident because Roman and Bray fell ill, so they had to change the card up, and we ended up with AJ versus Finn, and it was one of the best matches of the night, if not the best match of the night. And yeah, to say they've only done it once in WWE is criminal.
I have to agree with that. Yeah, like you say, for the amount of Finn Balor, Baron Corbin matches we've sat through over the years, and we've not had Finn Balor versus AJ Styles more often, I have to agree with that 100%. But we'll move on to our next match anyway. And I actually thought originally that these two could be winning the tag team championships at the show, but instead their opponents is Mansoor against Mustafa Ali. I mean, personally for me, I'm going to start off before we go into prediction of this match. I think it's a foregone conclusion. Was you ready for these two to break up? It kind of makes sense in the storyline, but I kind of felt these two could have had a bit more of a mileage on SmackDown.
I thought these two had a tag team running them going. I thought they were going to win the tag titles at Crown Jewel. I thought it was a foregone conclusion. Mansoor being the home crowd favorite, and he's never won a title before, so to win his first championship, like they did with Murphy when he went to when they did the Super Showdown in Australia, you would have thought they'd have done that, but no, unfortunately they've split up. Which yes, it was inevitable to happen, but so quickly is a shock. Unless they maybe do a dynamic where Mansoor will beat Ali, and then Ali will realize that maybe Mansoor is right, and they will put them back together again, sort of clunk their heads together to get them on the same path kind of storyline.
I really like that idea. I never thought of that dynamic. That could really work really well going into SmackDown. Like say Ali just goes on full on babyface and embraces what Mansoor's been doing. Yeah. He's been happy to sort of tag team up with people like Jeff Hardy. He's been, you know, probably dancing around down the aisles and stuff like that. He's been happy to be there. Ali wants to see a bit more grit, but I mean, and perhaps a bit more of an edgy side of Mansoor. Maybe they'll meet in the middle after this match. We'll have to wait and see. Maybe Mansoor wins by a little bit of cheating. Who knows? And takes a trick out of Ali's book. There's a lots of different avenues it can go down. But as for a prediction, it's sort of nailed on, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. There's no way Mansoor's losing in Saudi Arabia. I would bet my house on it.
Yeah. We don't encourage betting on this channel very often, but if you're going to bet on one match, it's probably your safest one to do so. Mansoor for the W. Let's go then to our next match then, shall we? And we will discuss a no-holds-barred match. Bill Goldberg will be taking on Bobby Lashley. I imagine this is going to be just a few minutes as well. Probably not the longest match on the show by any stretch of the imagination. But the sort of story here is that Bobby Lashley put his hands on Goldberg's son. Will his son be in attendance at Crown Jewel? That's something definitely to be an interesting note. Of course, no holds barred. Will he be there to protect Big Bill? Should Bill be suffering at the hands of Bobby Lashley at any stage during this match?
I will be very shocked. I'm going to say very shocked. I'll be very shocked if Bobby wins this match. He should, in question, win it, especially with the likes of now that the Hurt businesses are essentially back together. It's a no-hold barred, which basically means it's a no DQ match. How he doesn't win this, I don't know, but unfortunately, it's Bill Goldberg. Now, you don't really need to say more than that when it comes to booking for Bill Goldberg.
Well, Bill Goldberg has had a mixed review in these sort of shows, but of course he did, famously beat The Fiend, which I believe was the last time they were in Saudi Arabia. So yeah, I mean, of course we know that went down. But yeah, at the same time, I feel the same as you. The story plays itself here. Lashley has been the one that's been a little bit naughty, let's say. Of course, putting his hands on Goldberg's son at SummerSlam, obviously taking Goldberg out as well. I don't really encourage the lines that have been said by Bill saying that he wants to kill Bobby. Probably not the best choices of words in WWE.
Yeah, not the best script in that one.
No, not really. But at the same time, I agree with you. I think Bill Goldberg is winning this all the way. And I actually feel as well, this is the reason why I'm going to predict this. And this is probably not going to do me any favors by saying it. I probably shouldn't give WWE ideas. I think we're getting Bill Goldberg versus Roman Reigns as a potential backup match that could be happening either at Royal Rumble or at WrestleMania. What are your thoughts if that could be a potential?
Oh, God. It's terrible, man. But Bill Goldberg shouldn't be in the WWE still winning championships. He should be, if he's going to have these 2-3 matches a year, it should be sort of like essentially what this match is. It should just be a match to boost someone up the card. Like, Bobby shouldn't be losing this. Bobby should be winning this to make him look stronger. Yeah, as I can understand why it might be there, because obviously depending on the availability of The Rock, and this week there's a load of stuff come out whether he's going to be, if he's going to be a Mania next year in Texas, or whether they can do it for the year after, but depending on Rock's schedule. So yeah, I can see why, but the Goldberg should not be in any championship scenes at 50 odd years old, or is 60 odd. I don't even know how old Goldberg is, but he shouldn't be doing it.
He's getting on. But I mean, you said there, with this sort of role he's in here, I mean, obviously Bobby Lashley is someone that's higher up the card. So maybe, like you said, someone like Lashley probably should be winning this match. But I mean, we've seen the likes as well, Goldberg destroying people like Dolph Ziggler previously in the past. Is that sort of role still okay for Bill Goldberg in WWE, or are you done with seeing him full stop?
Yeah, I mean, if it's there to further a story along, then yeah, sure, it works. But when Bobby Lashley's just come off a 6-month run as your WWE champion, and you've got, yes, I'd like this. The roles should have been reversed, and we should have had Goldberg win the last match for Bobby to then win this one, and it would have made more sense. But now you're going to end a feud with Goldberg winning, then he's going to disappear for 6 months or however long until he repops again. And now what does Bobby Lashley do? He has to now recover from losing to Bill Goldberg. It really doesn't make no sense.
No, yeah, I can understand that entirely. And like you say, it should be protecting the full-time performers. But hey, it feels like we're both on the side here that we think Bill Goldberg is winning.
Yeah, 100%.
100%. That's what we're feeling. And yeah, we'll move on in the meantime then. And I tell you what, this is where things get a little bit trickier. We've sort of felt it's a bit straightforward so far. Let's talk about the King of the Ring, shall we? Because we don't even know effectively the final at this point. We know Finn Balor's going to be there, but will it be Xavier Woods or Jinder Mahal at the time of this live stream? Obviously, Monday Night Raw is this evening, so we don't know who will be facing Finn Balor on Thursday. But one comment has come flying in already. This has been very well timed with Joshi Pro. Says that Jinder Mahal is going to win this year's King of the Ring, as is in Saudi's gimmick is in, and you heard it first. Well, Jinder Mahal, don't hinder the Jinder, I guess, because of the fact that he has been a former WWE champion. It certainly wouldn't surprise many if he was put in the final here, but the sentimental favourite, I guess, is Xavier Woods. So I think the first thing we have to say is, who do we think is facing Finn Balor in this final?
As much as I'd love it to be Xavier Woods, it's going to be Jinder. As much as I want Xavier Woods to win King of the Ring, it's going to be Jinder for me.
You think Jinder? I'm going to be the first disagreement on this. I say that Xavier Woods will make the final. I think he's going to make the final, but I don't think he's going to win the final. And that's one thing where I'm going to come to this now is with the King of the Ring gimmick, Xavier would have a lot of fun with it. There's no doubt about that. He's been crying for this gimmick for years and years. I think Jinder could be quite fun with the gimmick.
But Xavier doesn't need it.
Sorry, Steve, I've lost you there for a couple of seconds. We've got you back now.
Xavier does not need it because he's in that tag team with Kofi and he's in part of New Day, and it's just something they don't need.
It's very true, and I think the fact he's in it, I think, is enough at this point as well. But does the gimmick fit Finn Balor?
Well, he's the prince. So does the prince then become the king, or does Jinder become king? It makes a lot of sense for Finn to win because I say his whole thing is Prince Balor. He is the rightful heir to the throne, essentially, if you want to word it in that kind of way. But again, with it being Saudi Arabia, it wouldn't surprise me to see Jinder win this.
Well, we've had, I think so far in a lot of the predictions, I think we've had a lot of the baby faces picking up the victories. I don't think we've picked many heels yet. So that could be a nice little twist as well. But I am going to say and stick my neck out. I think Finn Balor is winning this, and here's my reasoning why. Now, take reports with a pinch of salt. And I can't exactly remember where this is, but it's been spread across all dirt sheets. The idea that apparently one Raw writer wanted Finn Balor on Raw because he wanted him to fill the void that Drew McIntyre has left. Do you think Finn Balor, if he wins King of the Ring here, will get a nice big push on Monday Night Raw and can fill that void that's been left by Drew McIntyre going over to SmackDown?
Can he fill it? Absolutely. Will they push him to fill it? You can only wait and see what time will tell. Because unfortunately, it's down to Vince McMahon. Everyone knows what Balor can do. He was the first ever Universal Champion for a good reason, just because of one injury, which just sort of soured grapes with Vince, which is unfortunate. But he went back to NXT, did what Balor needed to do in NXT, reset himself, became NXT Champion again. I would love him to do nothing more than fill Drew McIntyre's, but again, it's unfortunately down to a 75-year-old man, which again, it's just a wait and see.
I guess so. It is a wait and see. And like you say, someone that should be pushed, but will he be pushed is the big question. But one last question then, just before we move on here with the King of the Ring tournament. Do you think it's been a fun tournament, or do you think it's been a bit of a missed opportunity and a bit lackluster this year?
I think it's been a bit lackluster because I think this is just a sort of a cat out of the bag, sort of spare of the moment kind of thing. I think this could have done. Don't get me wrong, the men's side is fine, but the Queen's Crown side of it has just been absolutely terrible. And like I said, I think this is just it's just a spare of the moment thing where the amount of people that are on that roster, and there was no other qualifiers for them 8 people to get into the final 8 to fight for the King of the Ring tournament. This could be a year-long tournament or however long that they could build towards, and it's literally a spare of the moment thing that they bring out, which is a shame because King of the Ring is great, and for the people that have won it and the things it's done, obviously we all know Steve Austin with his great promo on Jake the Snake after he won, but the amount of people that have portrayed great characters since. I mean, off the top of my head, Wade Barrett, when he was King Barrett, I thought he was great. Booker T, when we had King Booker, he was part of the new generation. It was a great character. But yeah, unfortunately, it's just a spur of the moment idea with WWE.
That's the thing. So, like you say, it's something that seems to be just, we'll do that. We didn't really kind of get anything more from it, and it could have been something so much more. Joshua Bro has just gone on to say as well, the idea if we could have had King Ricochet as well.
I would have loved King Ricochet.
Yeah, and can you imagine as well Ricochet versus Finn Balor finals?
Yeah, it would have been amazing. To be fair, I would love to have seen Kofi versus Xavier in the semi-final as well. I thought that would have been a great match, but they didn't work it that way.
Absolutely, would have been a great dynamic to see them too. Like that would have been really fun to see. But unfortunately, it was never to be. And I suppose I don't want a New Day split. I understand that WWE's breaking up enough tag teams as it is at the minute. But hey, it is what it is. And
I initially thought when the tournament started and I saw the bracket, I saw Xavier Woods versus Ricochet, and I thought, do you know what? Dark horse, whoever wins that match could go on to win the tournament, because obviously everyone knows Xavier wants it, but Ricochet would have been great as a king. But yeah, it's just I have no faith in WWE's booking with the King of the Ring gimmick.
No, that's the thing. I kind of want to see someone just propelled to the next level. You mentioned like a Steve Austin, just take it and run with it. I won King of the Ring, now I'm going towards the top. I want to use that skyrocket. But hey, the only one I think would have been happy to go with it would have been King Woods. As Ed has there said, that's his prediction for it. Thank you, Ed, by the way, for checking this out here on the stream today. And as for everyone else as well so far that's also getting involved with the chat. But yeah, it's going to be interesting how it's going to play out on this Thursday. I always want to keep saying this Sunday because that's when traditionally most pay-per-views are, but of course it's on a Thursday. It's going to be interesting to see how it's going to be, but we'll move on to the Queen's Crown. And of course, we don't know the final of that point either at the moment. We do know one person that's going to be in the final, which is Zelina Vega. We've got Doudrop versus Shayna Baszler on Raw this evening. And we've got a lot of questions that we've got one question in the chat I want to get to in a couple of seconds. But just before we do, quick prediction. I'm guessing it's straightforward. Doudrop or Shayna Baszler, who is going to be meeting Zelina Vega in that final?
As much as I would 100% love to say Shayna Baszler, there's like a small 3% of me that thinks that Doudrop could do it. But yeah, 97% I'm going to say Shayna's going to make it to the final. She's the Queen of Spades, so it's a character thing, I reckon.
I think so as well. I mean, for me, you said there's that little winkling because WWE puts that doubt in your mind from time to time with the way they book things. But yeah, I'm with you. I think Shayna Baszler is going to get to the final to take on Zelina Vega. Just before we give a prediction, though, this comment's come in a couple of times, so I want to make sure that we answer this and address it now while it's here. From Joshi Pro saying, do you think that the Queen's Crown is a complete failure with the amount of time the women have been getting? I think it's a massive failure, in my opinion. Steve, I'll let you take this first.
Yeah, it's an outrage. I mean, like, you look at Rampage or Dynamite this week, one of the two shows, there was one women's match on there that was longer than all four of the semi-final, longer than all four of the quarterfinal matches put together. Like you put all that time together, and then some of the predictions, like everyone is crying for Liv Morgan to win this, and I really can't understand their booking. I don't understand what Liv Morgan's done to not get a push. She's such a fan favorite, and she's worked so hard since she's come into the main roster that I don't know what she's got to do to get up there and get into a title scene and to win something. I say even this would have been good for her, but I have no idea. But yeah, it's just it is. I reckon it's been, like I said, King of the Ring's been a failure as well, in my opinion. The whole thing's been a complete failure.
Yeah, I would say so. And the thing is, it just feels like it's been a bit of throwaway, which is a shame. It's like, I understand the mid-cards and stuff. You've got those guests that have faith in the likes of Becky Lynch and Sasha Banks to throw on a 30-minute sort of main event on SmackDown. But at the same time, they don't have the belief in the other women to sort of carry matches. But they're not going to have the chance to show it off if you don't give them that opportunity and give them that time. So, like you said, they would Liv Morgan. I'm shocked. I made the prediction at the start she'd make the final.
Yeah, I thought she was going to win it.
And I'm going to give my reason why I think she didn't make the final. This doesn't get WWE off the hook, by the way. The reason I don't think Liv Morgan made the final, and I think that Zelina Vega did, is because Zelina Vega is going to get destroyed in about 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes. Now, I'm not saying that that's going to make things for the amount of time given to women in this tournament, but in Shayna Baszler's case, her match against Dana Brooke made sense to be the time it was, because Shayna's a monster and dominating. And I think that that's what they're going to look to do. They're going to try to make a star out of Shayna Baszler, who can go on to try and challenge on SmackDown for the SmackDown Women's Championship or even be a Royal Rumble contender.
Yeah, but the problem with doing this now with Shayna Baszler is they should have done it when she first debuted. I mean, for God's sake, they debuted the woman. She bit back on Becky Lynch's neck and made her look like an animal. And now we've had to wait all this time before they're finally going to push her by making her dominate these women. She's been a tag team champion where they're taking so long to win these matches, and they're losing matches unconvincingly by roll-ups and stuff like that. Where's the dynamic? Where's the change to say that Shayna Baszler is now an animal and she can win matches in 2 minutes? Like I said, yeah, it's the right thing to do for Shayna's point of view. This is going to be great for her, especially if she wins it. Well, so my prediction, I think she will win it. But yeah, I think this is a year too late with Shayna Baszler. This should have been her introduction when she come out to against Becky Lynch, but I say we'll soon see.
We'll have to wait and see how it's going to play along. But yeah, I mean, like you said there, it has been a bit of a disaster. And a great question that's come flying in before we move on is, why not save the Queen's Crown tournament for after Mania when you've got nothing going on, instead of wasting it in a place that doesn't allow you to showcase your female talent? It's a fantastic question. It's a fantastic point from Zach. Thank you for checking out the stream, by the way. And just to say, yeah, I mean, the women are not going to get time here. They're not going to be able to show the case themselves the same way. And this is probably why this match is going to be a throwaway couple of minutes. So, I mean, would this make more sense to have done this sort of WrestleMania Backlash time?
Yeah, I mean, I know obviously that Saudi Arabia don't allow women to perform. So the fact that WWE have got 2 matches on this card is quite an impressive feat. But the fact that one of these is only a minute long, I think is a joke. And to be fair, if you're going to have essentially a queen crown or queen of the ring, you would have thought that they would have put more effort into it, especially with the likes of Charlotte, who calls herself the Queen. You could have had so many more sort of main eventers be involved in this tournament. There's even talent that's not even being used on the roster. There was no Shotzi, there was no Tegan, there's no Mia Yim still hasn't been used for God knows how long. Again, same thing as I said before, King of the Ring. This could have been built so much better, and you've got so much more talent in the back that you could use, and they just don't do it.
Absolutely. Do you think, we mentioned Charlotte for a second. I understand she's a Raw Women's Champion. Charlotte's been involved in everything. Totally get where people may say when her name comes up. But at the same time, imagine if she had a match against the likes of, perhaps not Liv Morgan's not possible at this moment, but say they'd found a way where they could get someone over and get the win over Charlotte to get towards the final. Does that put more stock in that superstar that's going towards the final and make this tournament mean more?
Yeah, I mean, you could, like, for instance, Survivor Series is coming up soon. Whoever the champ is, for instance, if you had an underdog champ on Raw facing Charlotte, who's champion on SmackDown, and then you can just relive this rivalry in 6 months' time when they do this tournament. Yeah, it could work, but there's no long-term outcome for WWE. Unfortunately, it's all short-term booking, and it doesn't make sense in the long run when it comes to certain things.
Absolutely, have to agree with that 100%. And Zach, thanks for the question. Have to say, we do agree it would have been better in a different placement, but it is what it is, sadly. But yeah, Ali versus Ruby Riott. Of course, Ruby Soho lasted longer than every match in Queen's Crown. So that's the match that was the one, yeah. And probably 2 or 3 of those matches was the buying one as well. The Ty Conti match that she had as well with Santana Garrett went at least about 5 or 6 minutes. So that probably did 3 of the matches as well. So
exactly.
Just goes to show. But Liv Morgan to win the 2022 Royal Rumble, imagine the pop. I think that that would get a massive pop. Do you think Liv stands a chance on the Royal Rumble at this point?
I honestly could not tell you in a minute. As much as every time I think Liv's going to go on to fly to the moon, something just doesn't go her way. Like, for instance, she could have won the Queen's Crown, didn't win her match. Every time she's had a title opportunity or a tag team title opportunity, I don't know why, there's just something with booking with Liv Morgan. I don't know if it's just Liv Morgan in general or blondes, because if you ain't Charlotte Flair, blondes just don't seem to do well on the main roster, apparently.
It's weird because back in the day they did very well, and now it seems to have been a bit of maybe someone's made Vince aware of it. And he's gone, well, no, they have to lose now. So
Lacey Evans had a great opportunity of being a champ before she fell pregnant. She had a title match, and I sat and generally thought, yeah, Lacey Evans is going to pick this up. No, never won it. Liv Morgan never won it. Dana Brooke never won anything. For some reason, it just seems to be a thing with blondes in WWE. They just cannot win.
Oh, Mandy's changed their hair color and gone to NXT, so we'll probably have a good idea in the next couple of weeks if that's going to fare any better for her. But yeah, it's very interesting philosophy. And we'll have to see. I mean, like you say, it's so far away. It feels the Royal Rumble at the minute, but it's not really. So we will probably start getting more discussion as it gets closer. But I will say, Joshi Probe, that yeah, the pop would be incredible because Liv Morgan is a very popular performer in WWE amongst the fan base, even if WWE themselves aren't pushing at this point. But yeah, final prediction from both of us seems to be Shayna Baszler. I don't think we see it going any other way. So without further ado, let's move on to the next match, which I know NXSteve is most excited about talking about. It is Hell in a Cell. That's right. It's going to be Edge versus Seth Rollins. And who knew a Hell in a Cell match can actually take place when it wasn't a Hell in a Cell pay-per-view? How good is that feeling?
Yeah, man, I'm buzzing for this. Like I said, this is the story I'm most excited about. Actually, apart from the Roman Brock one, but this one's got the most everything about it. This feels essentially Attitude Era. You had the home invasion. You've had it just reminds me of the good old days of WWE, and I'm really excited to see what they're doing this much. Hopefully, they can do something creative and memorable, not like Seth versus Bray. And hopefully, I say this actually does go the distance, and we get an actual finish to this one.
Fingers crossed, yeah, because WWE have been doing DQs in recent Hell in a Cell matches, which is that's never okay. I'm not a fan with those false finishes. But you've mentioned there as well, which is a very interesting point about the Seth, of course, with the 2019 one. He said that kind of was the turning point this past week in SmackDown that made him how he is now. And I thought it was a nice little thing that was dropped in there. We've had so much going on with these two all the way to this point. The match at SummerSlam was arguably one of the matches of the night, with the match at Madison Square Garden, which for me, I thought was better than the SummerSlam one. I thought it was that good. I love the storytelling, the compellingness, Edge being carried out of MSG. I love the fact that Seth has wanted to make sure that, I want to be the one that retired Edge. I'm not Edge-like. We've had that playing all the way through. I wasn't a big fan of the home invasion. I thought that could have been done a bit better, but that's just my personal opinion, especially when I saw Deonna Purrazzo and Mickie James on Impact do something that was fantastic on literally the same week. But anyway, to go on to point here, to get them, we've got this Hell in a Cell where it isn't Hell in a Cell time. It just feels like we've got our gimmick back in the right way. But the thing that makes me worry is being at the show that it's on, and we said it has a house show feeling. Do you think we're going to get a safer style Hell in a Cell match rather than these two going all out trying to steal the show?
Yeah, I would imagine so. Just for sheer logistical reasons of where it is in the world, I believe is why we'll get a safer version. I don't think we'll get an off the top of the cage bump. You might get someone through the cage wall. It'll be all minor stuff, maybe a table or two, some kendo sticks. But I say these two have got the potential to put on a great match, so I'm all for it. Hopefully, say it just delivers on the promise.
I hope so. Yeah, it should be. It's going to be very exciting to see how it's going to play out. And I think this comes to the point then where I'm going to have to put you on the spot and say, who you got?
I don't know. It's really hard. It would do wonders for Edge for Seth to win, but I'm gonna say Edge.
I agree with you, and I'm going to explain why quickly. Seth Rollins, I think, is going to be the #1 heel on Raw. I think, without a doubt, he's going to be facing Big E when it comes to the important pay-per-views like Royal Rumble, maybe in WrestleMania, depending on when they want to fit that placement. But there's no pay-per-view in December. And now with TLC gone, it's day one after Survivor Series. Survivor Series is Raw versus SmackDown. There is time for Seth Rollins to recover from a loss to Edge at this pay-per-view. And this pay-per-view tends to be where they tend to more than not get the babyface pop. They want to keep everybody happy. So I have a feeling that Edge will be the one that will win this. Again, we went with the legend early in Bill Goldberg. I think I'm going to go with the legend again in Edge. I think it makes the most sense. It closes off the story perfectly. There's no reason for them to go back once again. Seth has to humble his words, regroup, and go again. But Seth has got time to go again to then go for the WWE Championship with Big E further down the line. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, 100%. Like you said, you just explained it all there. It makes perfect sense. It's the thing is as well. I'm worried about is how Edge would recover from a loss to Seth Rollins going forward. Because again, creative wise, I find it more believable for Seth to recover than Edge to recover. I think they're both on Raw now as well, aren't they?
They are, yes.
Yeah, so it makes more sense, like you said, for Seth to go on to the main event scene. Yeah, so Edge needs the win more than Seth does.
Absolutely, indeed. If they want to pop a rating as well on Raw in the middle on the road to Survivor Series, have Big E versus Edge for the Raw WWE Championship. That's a big win for Big E as well on his WWE Championship run, going against potentially could be against Roman or Brock.
Do you reckon this is the end of the feud, or could this again move on to another match?
I would like to think it's the end. I mean, especially as Hell in a Cell now has been brought into it. I originally thought that we could get Last Man Standing, something like that, because I felt that would be the kind of, or a stretcher match. I thought those were one of the two likely options. But instead, to go with this, I'm very happy we've got it because, like you said there, it's, it feels meaningful. But at the same time, I'd like to think that this is the end of the program. And I think if Edge wins it, I think that's when we need to leave it be, because it's been one of the best booked storylines in WWE for a long time. I'd hate them to overdo it, which we've seen so often, and then we turn around and say, oh, I'm sick of this now.
Exactly.
Well, I'll tell you, let's go to the comments. We've got a couple of comments from Joshi Pro just before we move on to our next match. Seth Rollins inside Hell in a Cell again. Dear God, giving me fiend nightmares. Yeah, I mean, it's... we hope we don't get that sort of theme again, but we'll have to see what will happen. But this is a good question that's coming as well. Will we get the Brood theme?
I'd love to, but I very much think he'll just stick to his normal Edge one, unfortunately.
I think he'll probably stick to the Edge one as well. But even if he does the mix like he did at SummerSlam, but we had it at SummerSlam as well. So maybe to do it again, is it copy and paste? I'm not sure. But yeah, I think we get the main Edge one for sure. Yeah. It would be nice though if we got that little bit at the start. But also Edge versus Rollins has been brilliant. Outside of Roman, the best thing in WWE for me. And I think I would agree with that. Would you agree, Steve?
100%, yeah.
Absolutely, indeed. There. Well, I'll tell you what, without further ado, let's go on to our next match. And this match is definitely going to be one that's going to be probably one of the more difficult ones to call, perhaps. It is the SmackDown Women's Championship triple threat match. We've got Becky Lynch, the champion, defending against Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks. Now, if you'd have told me at SummerSlam this is where we'd be now, I put a big rant out when the way that Bianca lost. I still don't think she should have lost that way. But where we've got from storytelling from there to now and where we are now, we've got this, what I call a dream triple threat match. I'm really looking forward to this. This is probably the match, I would say, probably edges it for me of the match I'm most looking forward to on this show. How about you?
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from, but again, because of the logistics and being in Saudi Arabia, I don't actually think they'll give this as much time as it probably needs. This could easily in the States or anywhere else apart from Saudi Arabia, probably go 25 minutes, half an hour. And I'd say logistically, I don't think we're going to get it, which is why I don't think it will be the best match of the night. I think this will be 10, 12 minutes probably. And yeah, that's my opinion anyway.
Do you know what? I know. I think you're right, though. I think you're saying on a different night, a different show, this has got match of the year written all over it potentially. But I think, yeah, like you say, under this environment as well. And obviously, will the ladies be able to perform the moves the same? Obviously, they'll be, in different attire as well on this night. So, but I imagine that they're going to still find a way to shine through all of that regardless. And I think that they're still going to put on a very good show for the time that they're going to get. But I mean, the thing is, what comes down to it as well, we have to remember tonight on Raw, Bianca Belair challenges for the Raw Women's Championship. She's going against Charlotte Flair. So the big question is, first off, is Bianca Belair going into this show looking to become Bianca Two Belts? Now, I realize I'm not being creative with that tagline.
I think she could. Because with Charlotte, I really hope they don't do this whole thing again where you get one person on Raw, one person on SmackDown, and then they have to swap titles. I think it's such a boring way to get titles onto just to get the branded titles onto other people. Swap them over, man. Just let someone pick up a win. Plus, a win for Bianca over Charlotte will be massive, especially if they're not. Because then you, I know it won't be the Survivor Series match, but again, when the next year, them two being apart, it's another heated feud that they can come back to if and when they draft them back together, or they get to Survivor Series even next year.
Absolutely. I mean, the thing is, this is, for me, it's a WrestleMania-worthy main event for the women's side, without question. It's a massive match, Bianca and Charlotte, and I'm surprised we've got it on Raw now for two weeks, but they've obviously got plans to keep them apart for the longest time going forward. But, I mean, of course, if Bianca was to go in here, then you would turn and say, well, Bianca and Becky are going to both be on Raw. Sasha's the one remaining on SmackDown. If that did happen, would it make sense then for Sasha to be the one to win the SmackDown Women's Championship? And you mentioned Survivor Series. We then get the rubber match of Bianca versus Sasha Banks because we haven't had that yet.
Yeah, but the only thing is Sasha stood tall last 2 weeks over Bianca and Becky. So if you go by WWE booking, whoever stands tall on the go-homes to the pay-per-views never normally wins. So WWE are booking it like Sasha shouldn't win. But she's the only SmackDown superstar, so she should win. So, this is really 50-50, this one.
It really is. I mean, it's always 1 in 3, isn't it, when you say how it plays out? And the thing is, what we have to remember also, last week, with Bianca going for this championship match this evening, she cost Becky Lynch the match on SmackDown last week, and Becky lost her first match in years, her first singles match, and that was done on FS1, not on a WrestleMania. Does Becky Lynch cost Bianca the match tonight, puts them involved here for this match, and then Becky retains again, and then we see a passing of the guard of the championships, and then something done where, dare I say, it's champion versus champion at Survivor Series with Becky versus Charlotte, but maybe one clobbers one, steals the other championship and says, look, I'm the one with the 2 belts now. How is it going to play out? There's so many different dynamics and twists and turns this match can have. It's now, which one is it going to be? I mean, do you like the sound of that playing out if Charlotte and Becky were to keep those championship golds?
Yeah, but like I said, as long as we don't get the you give me yours, I'll give you mine title thing, I'm up for anything. But it's a big head, like a mess with your head, this one. Like I said, there's so many angles and ways that they can go. The problem, I think, is WWE don't actually know which way they're going to go. Kind of a lot like how some of the Mania stuff went. I don't think they're actually going to know until the day on who's going to win and how. It's really, really hard to call. But yeah, like I said, if they do it that way and did the whole Becky versus Charlotte, and I don't know. I just honestly don't know, Steve.
It's a tough one, isn't it? But it is prediction time. Do you want to go first or do you want to go second?
I'll go first. I'm gonna go for the obvious answer, and I'm gonna say Sasha. I say, even though she shouldn't technically win because she stood tall the last 2 weeks, I'm gonna say Sasha wins and she goes on to SmackDown with that Women's Championship.
If Bianca Belair wins the Raw Women's Championship tonight, I'm going to agree with you. If she doesn't, I'm going to go for Becky to retain. That's where I'm going to stand, and I really think we'll get Becky versus Charlotte then at Survivor Series, and
or Bianca wins both, and we get Bianca 2 belts.
I would be down for that. I would be totally down for that. And then who maybe
she fights herself.
Yeah, why not? She just stands tall. She's on both shows, and why not?
She wrestles her own conscience in Survivor Series.
And you'll get the predictions right here on this channel. We'll have to see. But let's pop into the chat and see what everyone's got to say here. In fact, it goes more on from what we had previously, actually, from what we had in the last match that we had here from Joshi Pro. Big E versus Rollins makes sense because it was Big E who won the NXT title off of Rollins. Those many years ago could be a great story if done correctly.
Yeah, but the only problem is NXT isn't canon on main roster, so they won't even mention it. because obviously I know it made you now because Vince is in charge, but NXT doesn't get mentioned. That's why Charlotte's only an 11-time champ instead of a 12-time champ, because they don't mention her NXT title reign. So as much as it makes sense to bring it into that storyline, probably not going to happen, unfortunately.
And that's sad but true. But Joshi, I'm loving your work and loving the suggestion. They should do it. We're not
Get
sure
Big E to bring back the 5 count.
Please. Oh, that was epic back in the day. I love that. Early NXT was awesome with that sort of stuff. Really, really good. But that was, of course, after the wheelbarrows and all the rest of it. But I'll tell you what, let's do main event time, shall we? Because I'm sure everyone is eager to know our thoughts on this, on what side we stand on. We're like the Paul Heyman in this situation. The Universal Championship, Roman Reigns, the head of the table, the Tribal Chief, taking on Brock Lesnar. This, for me, has been a fantastic story. I've enjoyed it from start to finish. I think WWE have done a superb job of booking this match and really teasing the idea of where Paul Heyman is, because the obvious is, of course, he's with the head of the table, the Tribal Chief, but Brock Lesnar has played his cards each and every time so perfectly. For example, with the draft, making sure he's a free agent, thanks to Paul Heyman, making sure that he said, look, I don't need to read the contract. I saw it already with my advocate this morning, Paul Heyman. It's throwing a lot of spanners in the work here. Is Paul Heyman going to do to Roman Reigns what he did to Brock Lesnar at the Survivor Series in 2002 and align with the other talent?
I'm going to say no. As much as I love, to be fair, this is the first time I've ever actually enjoyed Brock Lesnar's character work. Everything he's done has been so entertaining, and it's been on par with Roman. That this feud is so good. But I don't think Heyman will switch sides. I think it's just a mind game that Lesnar's playing with Roman for the story purpose. But the problem I have with this is if Lesnar doesn't win, who's going to beat Roman? Because this guy is beating everyone. And there's no one bigger than Brock Lesnar in the WWE. And we know Roman's beaten him before, and we know Brock's beaten Roman before. But if Brock doesn't beat him, who will be the guy to take? Please don't tell me it's going to be like Drew McIntyre that takes the title from Roman. Don't get me wrong, that'd be fantastic for Drew to do. But if Brock doesn't win this, I have not got a clue.
I think it's going to be Drew at SummerSlam next year with the rumors of where SummerSlam could be. But we'll have to wait and see how that will play out. But yeah, I think it's going to be Roman that's going to be retaining. But I'm not sure this story's finished. That's why
wait. Are you telling me that Roman's going to retain and stay champ till SummerSlam next year?
I think so. I really do.
Days. Oh my! I can see it. Don't get me wrong. I can see it. But man, that's a long run.
I'm not bored yet. Are you bored yet?
No, I'm not bored. No, you're right. That's the thing. I'm not actually bored. I mean, another year to build someone to take that title for him. But don't get me wrong. Roman's on TV every week. I'm fine with that. As long as he's not doing a Brock Lesnar and turning up once every 2 months for a decent pay-per-view, it's fine. But it's got to be something special for someone to take that title off of him. Can you imagine the pop when he loses that? Damn.
Oh, yeah. It's already big, and it's going to be even bigger when it happens, because like if it is that long, then to SummerSlam next year, I mean, like you say, you've got time. We've got a SmackDown roster that's quite young and hungry. A lot of stars you turn around and say, well, they're not ready for that level of run. You've got sort of 8 to 10 months to build that star up and do it. If he beats the likes of, we mentioned Goldberg, which people may not want to see, but Roman gets another win there.
Yeah.
If he does get The Rock, you'd expect him to retain there. I don't think that match even needs a championship if and when it does take place.
Yeah, I don't think it does, no.
You know, even if he takes on Drew now at this point, I think Drew then could perhaps come back later on. It's going to be a big moment for whoever does take that championship eventually.
Yeah, I mean, the only problem is then is that they've got to make sure that the SmackDown brand doesn't have too many top of the cards hitters. Like, yes, you can have Drew. And I know that Kevin's moved over to Raw, whether it be in WWE by this point next year anyway is a different matter, but you can't, well, I suppose you would need to have at least maybe 2 or 3 people to challenge Roman over the space of the next year, or bring back these, like, I mean, could we get Roman versus Taker again at Mania? I mean, it's the only thing that, if you're going to bring in these legends to face Roman, you've got Goldberg, Undertaker's another one. I know he's not going to wrestle. He shouldn't wrestle again, should I say, but if Vince needs him, Vince needs him, so who knows? I
mean, I personally hope it doesn't happen, because I think Taker's had that perfect send-off. Yeah, he's had the perfect send-off. I personally wouldn't. One that's come in the comments actually as a suggestion, even though he's on Raw, perhaps if he wins the Royal Rumble, maybe he could challenge at WrestleMania, would be Keith Bearcat Lee. That could be a fun option that could be there.
Yeah.
One that could be an outside the box as well could be Damian Priest if he was to win the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, I forget that the Rumble's coming up, and that actually does open up a lot of potential for someone to face. But then again, it's got to be a name that's worthy enough to face Roman at Mania. This is the problem you've got to have as well. And yeah, that's the other thing. So you could say Drew, it could be Drew again, if just to book that match. But more than likely that the winner of the Rumble this year is going to be a Raw member, because I honestly haven't got a clue who they're going to do for Roman.
No, I'm not sure at this point either. And like you say, we've got time to build them up. We'll have to see how it's going to play out. But I suppose one, we sort of touched on it a little bit, but just to get full clarification on it, do you think that with this Lesnar match here, I have seen speculation that there could be a carry-on with this. Maybe this is going to be the Rumble match, for example, Roman versus Lesnar 2. Do you reckon that we're going to get some sort of screwy finish if that was the scenario?
I think maybe just to justify the reason for the rematch, because if Roman beats him clean, what's the reason for Lesnar coming back and having another one? He would need the screwy finish to kind of make sense in a story term wise. For instance, a Paul Heyman costing Lesnar the match sort of thing. It makes more sense that way. Just to say, yeah, then like you said, get the rematch, the Rumble or New Year's Day or day one, sorry, whenever it happens.
For me personally, I think that's the perfect way to do it. I want to see Paul Heyman do a double turn in this match where he looks like he's actually aligned with Brock Lesnar. So Roman has the shocked face, and we get that kind of, oh my God, actually he's with Brock Lesnar. And then just when Brock looks like he's going to pick up and get the win, so the referee's out of it because it's not a no DQ match, then you see Lesnar low blow, and then
championship shot to the back of the skull or something,
something, and then that point you just know, right, okay, no, he is, and it was the plan all along. Roman knew, and it was actually, you know, Brock that was sort of taken for a ride on this. So I think that's definitely the perfect way, I would say, that they could actually book this. But it's going to be interesting to see how and what way they're going to do it. But is there anything more you'd like to add on Roman versus Brock on before we finish off on the chat?
No, go for it, mate.
I'll tell you what, we've got quite a few that have come flying in on the chat. And Joshi Pro has got your suggestion there for Bianca versus Bianca. Bianca versus Bianca's hair, Survivor Series. That could be the way that could be doing it. Would it be a hair versus hair match? I'm not sure, but would certainly be interesting how they would play that out. And also, Roman versus Lesnar, winner gets to go to
Go for a carvery.
Lesnar looks like something from the hairy bikers. Only in the UK folk will understand the reference, and we understand that reference. So do like that reference as well there. We've got Gary Parkin that says Sasha to win the SmackDown Women's Championship. So there you go. That's a nice little prediction that's come in there. And we mentioned as well about Keith Bearcat Lee as well already. But Lisa Stansbury is with us as well. Thank you, Alicia, for joining us. Can't stand the Becky Lynch character anymore. She needs can't stand Becky Lynch. Her promo has been horrible. The big time Becky character. So what do you feel actually?
If she hates her, that means Becky's doing her job correctly, because she's a heel and you're supposed to hate her. That's the whole point. If you don't like her, then yeah, that's the whole point of Becky being a heel. You're not supposed to like her.
She's doing the job well, clearly. And do you think the fans are turning enough on Becky Lynch? Because obviously, like you said there, it's getting there, isn't it? Slowly but surely. I mean, for me, I don't mind it. I prefer the big time Bex gimmick to the man, because I had a bit of a disconnect with the tagline of what it was representing and stuff. I think big time Bex is much more of a good promotional name. I think it works with what she's doing. I must admit, I am enjoying the work, and I do think at the moment that I think when the same things when someone beats Roman, I think at this point when someone beats Becky, it's going to put them in a whole new pedestal.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, like the thing is she was so hot when she left. Like, and unfortunately, like, congratulations, she had a child, but it was like she was at such a peak, and it was like you're trying to bring back someone that was super babyface, bring them back heel, which in the long run, now looking back at it, her squashing Bianca in less than 30 seconds makes total sense. Yeah, it's just a long process to get Becky, and she won't be like super heel like she was super face. She'll be top heel, but yeah, I thought I'd say it's just a long process because of how loved she is.
Absolutely, yeah, they're going to have to keep doing it. And the only thing I would have changed on the SummerSlam was just the method they'd done it. It was sort of two clean moves. I'd have liked to have seen some sort of cheating done at SummerSlam.
Yeah.
A more clear, defined heel turn, I think, would have made more sense for that quick victory. But,
Yeah.
I mean, do you think Bianca eventually will be the one to beat Becky?
Maybe. I said she could do it. The problem, again, but this depends on the results tonight. If Bianca wins against Charlotte, then Becky's got to then chase Bianca again. It's all weird story writing with this top of the card women's division. You just don't know which way from Sunday they're going with it. Bianca could be the one to do it. Don't get me wrong. She's been pushed to the moon. She won the Rumble. She beat Sasha at Mania. She's flying high now. So yeah, she could be the one to do it.
I think at the moment she seems the best, best resume to do it if you want, because she's at that level. She's at the cusp of getting to that top babyface, top female of the company level, and I think that win would definitely do it. But we've sort of touched on Crown Jewel, a lot of Crown Jewel there now. But one thing we'll just go on quickly before we do come off today. Have we heard news on Naomi joining the Bloodline? That's certainly one that's been doing the rounds recently on the rumor mill.
As much as I'd love to see it, depending on what happens with this Sonya Deville storyline, this obviously needs to play out. But if you're going to do it, then if you want to make an impact on Friday night, have Hit Row come out against Roman, make their name, and then at some point in the future, we maybe get a 4-on-4. The thing is the Bloodline doesn't necessarily need Naomi. It would make more sense though, because then Naomi's on TV more. She gets more screen time. She gets more matches. Like Naomi said, their whole storyline at the minute is she can't get a match. So putting her with the Bloodline, putting her with Paul Heyman, making her a Paul Heyman woman, it could work for her. It could be really good. But like I said, if they're bringing Hit Row up from that point of view, a 4-on-4 with them 8 people, that could be quite good.
I love the sound of that. Immediately I sit there and go, oh, faction warfare. We've not had that for a while in WWE. I like the idea of that. Seems really, really good. I like that. So, yeah, for me with Naomi, I would say, yeah, I'd like to see it long term, but I think there's still a while for this story to play out. I mean, she got that match, didn't she, for the first time on SmackDown. She got destroyed in it. I think there needs to be a bit more just to really put Naomi over the edge to go and join that Bloodline. I think that definitely would work really, really well then. But yeah, when it does happen, Hit Row versus the Bloodline, sign me up. So I'm loving that idea.
Swerve to beat Reigns for the World Heavyweight Championship.
Absolutely. Could you imagine it? Probably in about a year's time. But hey, we've just got that coming there. Joshi seems to love the idea as well. That would be quite fun to see. And Alicia does say that we've got too many heels in WWE. It needs to balance it out. Would you agree that they need to have a few more baby faces going? There does seem to be quite a lot of heels at the minute.
I think with the roster refresh starting Friday, this will hopefully help it out. I'll be honest with you, I'm surprised more NXT superstars never got called up, if I'm honest, because there's a lot of baby faces on there that could have been called up. Cameron Grimes, especially, how he never got called up, I don't know. Then you learn this week that apparently they want to lose the whole $1 million redneck idea and they want to scrap that part of his character. I don't know. But yeah, Grimes was ready for it. He's a baby face. He's a massive baby face now. And if you come him and set him in the mid card on either brand, he could do really well. But yeah, let's say Friday and Monday, all the new characters come in. We'll soon see it. It should be a lot better.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be interesting to see. And I think Sasha Banks is definitely a clear one that would go to the babyface side. But you mentioned with the NXT stars there also, and Cameron Grimes stuff. I hope they really don't change it too much. I've enjoyed his gimmick the last 12 months. He's really organically got over.
Yeah, apparently Vince isn't a fan of the whole him being a millionaire kind of thing, which is a crying shame because it's essentially how he's just got over as a babyface. Him winning the $1 million title is a thing, and that's what got him over. And now, apparently Vince isn't a fan of it, and they want to change it.
Just a shame, really is a shame. But yeah, I mean, I think more NXT stars will get called up, but I think it's going to be sparingly when they can find the right place and time for them before, in time, rather than just giving like 12 new faces at once and not being able to push them all.
See, my idea I had was you could have had, obviously when Naomi brought out Shayna Baszler this week, you could have done one better here. And if they'd have had Dakota beat Raquel at TakeOver for that NXT Championship, you could have had Raquel debut as Sonya's muscle, and you could have had Raquel Gonzalez on SmackDown.
I like the sound of it. Would have been really, really cool when it had it played out that way. Would have been really, really nice. We've had a few more chats coming in. West Coast Podcast saying, great stream, guys, but we'll be boycotting this pay-per-view. Don't blame me if you do.
Exactly.
I understand that. You know, everyone has got their stance on what they feel with this pay-per-view, and that's totally fine. I will not be watching it live. I will be saying that. We'll keep an eye on what happens at the pay-per-view, but I won't be watching it live.
I'll be at work, so I won't be watching it either. But I'll give someone on YouTube some watch time, and I'll find someone who's put a highlight package out.
There you go. I think that's definitely a good way to do it. To find some love for people on YouTube, I think would be a good way to do it because, hey, it's all about that watch time on YouTube. If you can help people, giving them some watch time, it definitely gets them places, helps channels grow, as well as likes and comments do as well. But before we sign off, 2 more comments and we'll end the stream today as we're at the hour mark now. Cameron Grimes as the $1 million gimmick or as US champion, sign me up. Joshi loves the sound of that. I'd have loved to have seen Cameron Grimes and Happy Corbin go at it in a feud.
Yeah, man. Like I said, Cameron Grimes, send him to the moon. Sorry, yes. I had to do it.
It was done beautifully. It was done absolutely beautifully. And Alyssa Stansbury, 4 horses, all heel. Seth Roman Reigns is heel. One of them needs to turn babyface. Perhaps at some point, someone will. I think Sasha definitely will. I think when Bayley returns, I think she's going to be over as well as so much. So I do think that she'll get the babyface run also.
The problem with that is Charlotte isn't a good babyface. So turning her babyface doesn't really work. Seth, if he's going after Big E, it's not going to make sense turning him babyface. Roman is naturally getting over as he's sort of a tweener at the minute. He is a heel, but people love him as a heel. So he's making that sort of slow transition into a babyface as it currently is. Bayley, without character work, her coming back as a babyface won't work. She'll need to do something. And personally, I don't think Sasha's a really good heel. I prefer her as a face. And then Becky is doing what Becky's doing at the minute as well.
Absolutely. It's going to be interesting how it's going to play out. I agree that Bayley would need... I think she would naturally have the organic where fans would be happy to have her back.
Same as what Roman's got,
she'll have to have something to keep that going if it's going to work as a babyface. But Sasha definitely will do it. I don't see Seth doing it anytime soon. Roman probably about another 12 months away if and when it does happen. But that's pretty much it from us here today. Thank you everyone that's been watching. Please drop a comment after this video has gone on as well. As I said, it really helps with the analytics. Thanks everyone that's been commenting during the stream as well and been watching us live. It's been really good to have you all on board. And SCW this week is going to be extremely busy. The Q&A from yesterday is available on the channel for you now. Bound for Glory predictions are coming on this channel tomorrow if you're an Impact Wrestling fan. As well as that, another live stream Q&A will be available for you on Wednesday. And NXT Halloween Havoc predictions will be dropping from myself on Thursday. So there's lots to look forward to over the coming days. And NXSteve, is there going to be stuff on Jonesy for this week to look out for?
Yeah, hopefully I can sort of do the review this week for NXT. Hopefully at some point towards the end of the week as well, I will try and get out a predictions video for Halloween Havoc as well.
That'll be awesome. Definitely worth checking out. Like I say, and as it says at the bottom of the screen now, check the link in the description of this video. You get straight to the channel and you can go and subscribe. They're near 200 Jonesy Chats Wrestling. So get them to the 200. Start off the week in style for them. I think they'd really appreciate it. So make sure to go and make that happen now. But that's all from us anyway. Thank you everyone for watching. And we'll see you next time. It's been SCW here on YouTube. This has been Crown Jewel Predictions. Enjoy and we'll see you all next time. Have yourselves a great day. Thank you all for watching. Really does mean a lot. All the best.